Right, the next video we're going to be looking at is dealing with pedestrian crossings. So pedestrian crossings come in three different types. There's uncontrolled crossings, there's controlled crossings, and there's staggered crossings. Okay, so if we look at uncontrolled crossings first, uncontrolled crossings basically mean that they're not governed by traffic lights. Okay, so the difference between a traffic light controlled crossing and a non-traffic light controlled crossing is that on the non-traffic light controlled crossing, if there's somebody waiting to cross, okay, or looks like they're about to cross, we as the driver must stop for them. Okay, so if you're driving towards a pedestrian crossing, again it's black and white in the road, you'll have beacons either side which are called Belisha beacons. You'll have zigzag lines either sides of them. Those zigzag lines mean no parking or overtaking. Okay, so as we're heading towards the pedestrian crossing, you need to be scanning across both footpaths to make sure that there's nobody waiting to cross or looking like they're about to cross. Okay, before changing your speed, you need to do the routine of mirror signal manoeuvre. So it's the centre mirror and the right mirror. So again, make sure you move your nose, centre mirror, right mirror. You're looking to see whether it's safe to change your speed. Now, if there isn't anybody on the crossing, you still need to come off the gas pedal. Okay, you need to cover the brake and cover the clutch just in case. Particularly as most pedestrian crossings that are uncontrolled tend to be in areas that there are lots of pedestrians, so areas like schools, parks, those kinds of things, and pedestrians can appear from as if nowhere. Alright, now as we head towards the pedestrian crossing, again we've got our feet off the gas pedal, we're covering the brake and we're covering the clutch, we've already checked our mirrors, we're ready for the absolute worst case scenario. So if nothing does happen, nobody is coming towards the crossing, then you check your centre mirror, your right mirror after the crossing, and then you would increase your gas back up to the speed limit when it was safe to do so. Okay. Now, if there was somebody waiting to cross, what you need to do is make sure that you stop before the pedestrian crossing. Okay, and there's a white line that's got a little bit of spaces in it that goes across ways, okay, before the pedestrian crossing. You need to stop before that line. Okay, now if you're the car that's right at the front of the pedestrian crossing, you've pushed your clutch down, your brakes have gone on, you must put your handbrake on. Okay, the thinking behind it is if you were to be involved in an accident from the rear, the first thing that would happen would be your brake would come off. Okay, then there is nothing physically stopping the car moving forwards. At least if you've got your handbrake on, okay, if you were involved in a collision from behind, the handbrake would be able to stop us. Alright, so that's uncontrolled crossings. You just wait for them to patiently cross. They need to cross both your side and the other person's side. You don't wave at them, you don't toot your horn, you don't rev your engine, you just wait nice and patiently. And then, like I say, you then move off. Okay, if you have secured the vehicle, all you do is you check your centre mirror, your right mirror before releasing the handbrake. Okay, release the handbrake while your feet are at the biting point, and then you would just move off as if you were moving away from the side of the road without having to do your observations to the blind spots. Okay, so that's uncontrolled crossings. So controlled crossings, again, they're traffic light controlled. Okay, and they tend to have two traffic light sequences. They have a red, amber and green, or they have a red and then a flashing amber and then green. So red, amber, green basically means that if there is nobody on the crossing and the traffic light says green, then it's safe to go through. So you would check your centre mirror, your right mirror, you would come off the gas pedal just in case that traffic light's changed. If the traffic lights go back to amber, it's our responsibility to stop before the pedestrian crossing. Okay. Same scenario again, if you're the lead vehicle, so you're the first vehicle in front with a queue of traffic behind us, you need to secure the vehicle for the same conversation we had about uncontrolled crossings. Okay. Now, when that amber light was flashing, if there was anybody on the crossing, i.e. in the road that was crossing in front of you, you would need to wait for them to have cleared the crossing completely before moving forwards. Okay. When it goes to red, amber, green, same principle again. If there was anybody on the crossing actually physically in the road, you would need to wait for them. Okay, but the reason why there are two types of different ones, okay, is because the one that flashes on amber, okay, tends to read what's on the pedestrian crossing. It has cameras above the two traffic lights that are angled into the centre of the road. Okay, they tend to be in areas that there are again pedestrians, but not as many. Okay. Now the last type of crossing is something referred to as a staggered crossing. Now, a staggered crossing normally has a safety island in the centre of the road. Okay, it tends to be on roads that are slightly more than 30 miles an hour, so 30-40 miles an hour. It also tends to be where there is a high volume of traffic. Okay, also you potentially could get cyclists as well. Okay, so same principle again. As you head towards it, if the traffic light is on green, you centre mirror your right mirror to make sure it's safe to slow down, come off the gas pedal. You drive through on the worst case scenario, ready with your feet. If the traffic lights don't change, then it's centre mirror right mirror before you leave, and then obviously it's more gas when it's safe to do so. Now, the reason why the staggered crossings are there is because, again, the road might be quite wide. So if there are people on the immediate right hand side of the road that are crossing to the centre island, if the road is quite wide and the safety island actually takes them away from us and then across in front of us, so away from us and then across in front of us, we don't need to stop. Okay, you would treat them as two separate crossings. Okay, if the safety island that's in the centre of the road is very small, okay, and potentially they could get from one side of the road, the pedestrian could walk from one side of the road to the other side of the road, okay, you would need to stop and wait for them. Okay, so the worst case scenario is, if you do have to wait, the usual thing again, you stop before the white line that's on the road, secure the vehicle in the usual way, and then when it's safe to do so, again, when the pedestrian has crossed and the traffic lights command you to be able to move forwards, and it is safe to move forwards, you check your centre mirror, your right mirror, put your foot on the gas pedal, bring the clutch up obviously, keep your feet perfectly still. It's not a time that you really want to stall the car. And then as you begin to increase your speed again, just checking your centre mirror, your right mirror, just to make sure it's safe to continue increasing your speed. Now, when we've talked about in the MS-PSL routine and the MSM routine, what we're actually looking for in our mirrors by checking them, again, is to see if it's safe. And the things specifically we're looking for are things that might be overtaking us after the zigzag lines, particularly on pedestrian crossings. So again, I'm talking about emergency vehicles and motorbikes mainly. Alright, so it'll become a little bit more clearer when we start looking at diagrams in the car, and obviously we'll have a go at doing some of them in the car. But there are, again, just three types of crossings: controlled crossings, uncontrolled crossings, and staggered crossings. Alright.